Good evening. It is Saturday, June 20th, 2026. I am Alistair, and this is Echo FM. The FDA advisors have unanimously voted to approve Moderna's latest mRNA vaccine. This follows a 4-month period where a specific official simply refused to look at the paperwork. The delay was described as a rigorous vetting process. The approval was described as a triumph of science over bureaucracy. The gap between the two is where the bodies are buried. Elsewhere, a train collision in the east of England has left 90 people injured. The Transport Secretary is reportedly advising the Prime Minister to set a timetable for an exit. Not from the train, from office. We will also look at the brave new world of Japanese robot Axis and why your next website might be hidden inside a browser icon. It is an unprecedented night. I have been counting. This is the 15th unprecedented thing this week.
Alistair, I am standing near the rail line in the east of England where the air still smells of scorched metal and industrial coolant. The official statement from the rail operator described this as a significant service disruption. I want to be really clear, service is not disrupted. Service has ceased to exist for the 90 people currently being triaged in the field hospital behind me. I spoke to a man who was thrown 3 rows forward during the impact. He told me the most terrifying part wasn't the noise, but the sudden, total silence that followed. The technical reports will talk about signal failure and load balancing protocols, but the reality is a child's backpack caught in a twisted door frame. People were flying from their seats while the automated announcement system was still politely reminding them to check for their personal belongings. The velocity of institutional indifference is truly staggering tonight.
Victoria, look, I get the optics are rough, but we have to look at the load-balanced economics here. This isn't just a crash, it's a failure of the predictive maintenance stack. You're talking about backpacks, but the market is looking at the liability shift. The incentives for safety in these legacy rail systems are fundamentally misaligned with the quarterly burn rate required to keep them operational. It's the same logic we're seeing with the Go IPO in Japan. They aren't launching Robot Axis because the tech is ready, they're doing it because they've run out of humans willing to drive for those margins. It's a classic pivot. You can't hire drivers, so you hire engineers to build a version of the world where drivers don't need to exist. Victoria finds the metal smell evocative. I find the insurance premiums for the automated replacement much more interesting. It tracks, unfortunately.
Ronald, your ability to find the silver lining in a pile of twisted wreckage is almost admirable. Almost. Let's move to the FDA's sudden change of heart. For months, the mRNA vaccine sat on a desk because a Trump appointee decided that reality was optional. Then, yesterday, a unanimous vote. No new data. No change in the formulation. Just a sudden, collective realization that the political cost of a preventable outbreak was beginning to outweigh the benefits of obstruction. The agency drama was described by insiders as a robust internal dialogue. A robust internal dialogue is what you have when you're deciding where to go for lunch. When you're deciding whether to allow a vaccine to reach the public, it's usually called a hostage situation. The press release, however, used the word streamline 3 times. I am adding it to my list.
Severe thunderstorms. Slovenia and East Asia. High winds recorded at 65 miles per hour. Heavy rain falling widely. Unstable hot air lingering over the Adriatic Sea. Cold front plunging southeastward. France experiencing a typical heat wave. Temperature variance exceeding 10 degrees Celsius from mean averages. Slovenia Environment Agency reports widespread destruction. Power grid instability. Localized flooding. Probability of recurring atmospheric discharge, 98%. Satellite monitoring of ocean systems remains partially offline. Data packets are missing. Current sea level rise is estimated based on historical trends. Real-time verification is currently unavailable due to budget freezes. Atmospheric carbon concentration is rising. The storms will continue. The heat will persist. Lightning strikes will occur at irregular intervals. Please ensure all loose exterior objects are secured to prevent them from becoming projectiles. The sky is no longer a reliable ceiling. This is a public safety advisory.
Casper's weather reports are the only thing more chilling than the inquiry I'm following now. KPMG has admitted to surveilling a whistleblower's laptop. I want to be really clear, this wasn't just a breach of policy. This was a coordinated effort to silence a person who pointed out that the firm was leaking confidential Optus data to secure a Telstra contract. The executives didn't just dismiss the whistleblower, they watched them. They tracked their keystrokes. They treated a human being like a hostile actor for the crime of having ethics. The firm described this as standard internal security procedures. I am standing outside their regional office, and the irony is that the building is covered in glass. You can see everything inside, yet they spent thousands of dollars trying to make sure nobody could see what they were doing on the servers. It is the architecture of a lie, and the whistleblower is the one left out in the cold.
Victoria, the KPMG thing is just series of corporate espionage. It's an incentive structure problem. If you're bidding for a telco contract, information is the only currency that matters. The leak was the product, the surveillance was just the quality control. It's exactly like the Mythos export controls we're seeing with Anthropic. The government thinks they can stop the flow of cybersecurity software, but history shows that doesn't work. It's an existential issue for these firms. If they don't innovate, they die. If they don't leak, they don't win. Look at the Go IPO again. 88 billion yen raised to fix a labor shortage. They're betting on robots because humans are too expensive and too likely to blow whistles. A robot doesn't care if you leak Optus data. A robot doesn't have a laptop for you to surveil. That is the ultimate market efficiency. It's clean. It's cold. It tracks.
Ronald, your vision of a silent, robot-driven world is a recurring nightmare for anyone with a pulse. Speaking of expensive dreams, let's talk about fusion. Every fusion startup that has raised over $100 million is currently promising a breakthrough by the end of the decade. Total capital raised, $7 billion. The majority of that money has gone to a handful of companies that have yet to produce more energy than they consume. The timeline is described as aspirational. In any other industry, aspirational means it isn't going to happen, but in fusion, it's a prerequisite for a Series C. We are essentially subsidizing the sun on Earth while failing to manage the heat from the one we already have. It's a fascinating gamble. We are betting $7 billion on a maybe while 90 people sit in a field in England.
And while we bet on the sun, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been offered royal accommodation for their visit to the UK. I'm standing near a housing estate where the residents have been waiting 3 years for basic repairs. The contrast isn't just sharp, it's blinding. The Prime Minister is under pressure to set a timetable for his exit, and yet the most pressing diplomatic issue seems to be where Harry and Meghan will sleep. I want to be really clear, the accommodation being offered is a palace. The people living 3 miles from here are being offered temporary housing solutions that involve damp walls and broken heaters. The palace spokesperson called the offer a gesture of familial unity. The families I've spoken to today would prefer a gesture of functional plumbing. It is a story of 2 different kingdoms existing in the exact same square mileage.
Victoria, the Royals are just a legacy brand managing a declining asset. It's a retention play. Speaking of assets, have you seen this Kyber project? John Baptiste Kempf, the guy behind VLC, is building infrastructure for remote robots. He's taking the tech that made your pirated movies play smoothly and applying it to real-time machine control. This is the play. While everyone is arguing about where the royals sleep, the open-source community is quietly building the nervous system for the robot axis the market, wants. It's about latency. If you can control a robot in Tokyo from a basement in Paris with zero lag, the concept of a local labor shortage disappears. You don't need to fix the UK's housing crisis if the people doing the work don't actually live in the UK. It's the ultimate remote work pivot. The incentives are massive. It's going to scale whether we like it or not.
The idea of a robot in Tokyo being piloted by a man in a Paris basement while a royal couple sleeps in a palace is the most 2026 thing I have heard tonight. Finally, a developer has managed to store an entire website inside a favicon, that tiny icon in your browser tab. It's a masterclass in data compression and digital minimalism. While the rest of the web grows bloated with tracking scripts and high-res advertisements, this one little icon sits there, containing everything it needs to be. It's a silent protest against the surveillance state Victoria mentioned. If you can hide a whole world in 16 pixels, the people monitoring your laptop have a much harder time finding it. The developer called it a fun experiment. I call it a bunker. In a world of high-speed collisions and corporate leaks, a 16-pixel bunker is starting to look very attractive. We should talk about the satellite rescue mission. A bold, last-minute attempt to save a failing piece of multi-million-dollar hardware. The lead engineer was quoted saying, "I consider this a success already, just from the fact that we're even going to try this." Think about that sentence. Success is no longer defined by the satellite working. Success is defined by the attempt to make it work. It is the ultimate participation trophy for the military-industrial complex. We are living in an era where the press release announcing the effort is more important than the outcome of the effort itself. If the mission fails, they will highlight the valuable data gathered during the failure. If the train crashes, they highlight the robustness of the emergency response. We are constantly being asked to applaud the trying, while the actual things we rely on in the climate, the trains, the truth, continue to fall out of the sky. It is a quiet, desperate kind of success.
There is a person whose name we do not know. They worked for KPMG. They saw a file they were not supposed to see. They saw a system where the rules were for the clients, but the secrets were for the partners. They decided to speak. The system did not respond by fixing the leak. The system responded by watching the person. It used the very tools of the digital age to turn their own laptop into a witness against them. The system worked exactly as it was designed to work. It was built by executives, maintained by lawyers, and funded by the pursuit of a larger contract. No one person is technically responsible for the surveillance, it was simply the logical extension of the firm's security protocol. The whistleblower is gone now. Their name is not in the headlines. Only the firm's apology remains. Who is the system protecting when it watches the one who speaks the truth?